Well, I'll ask the question everybody's thinking. I think you need to publicly tell us what your thoughts are for coming up with 25 million.
Great. I have given this some thought because, funding issues aren't easy. I know in the end we make them look easy, but we rely on a lot of help because we do not have $25 million. As good a financial condition we are in, we do not have $25 million to write a check for this facility. So I'll just get to the chase. I will tell you one of the best programs that we're barely just starting to utilize is that Department of Commerce pooled, what's it called, public-private pooled partnership program. And it's fantastic. We've used it twice. So we're talking about a program we know a little bit about. We used it at the airport, Woodring Airport, to help pay, along with the DSIP grant, for the joint use hangar, but also for the South Ramp hangar, which fixed all that concrete and made it a nice place to park airplanes for one of our most important constituents in the community. And then it also helped fund what ultimately will be 16 new general aviation hangars. Eight are out there right now. And so that's one project. We just recently got approved for a $10 million award to help pay for the Ames Waterline project, which is about a $32 million project. So we're well on the way towards paying for that with $4 million appropriation, probably with some money moved around from ARPA dollars that paid for a different thing instead of CAW, and then ultimately we'll have to put some money in or take out a loan. So, but anyway, back to that. So I think we can get $10 million. That program is a fantastic program. You sign up. You have to find employers that are willing, in this community, that are willing to participate. But it's really ingenious, whoever came up with it. It takes state withholding payroll taxes that employers have to pay anyway. Atwoods has to pay this, Jiffy Trip, the base. All these employers, we have to pay state withholding taxes, which is that income tax, again, that you heard Kurt Rogo talking about. Mm-hmm. Well, instead of that just going into what I'm going to call the black hole at the state, where they're going to spend it wherever they want doing something else, with commerce, there's a few rules, but this is one of the best programs for not very many rules either. It's got to have public benefit, it's got to be owned by the public. So I think they call it net, something about net benefit to the public. Anyway, I'm confident that we'll be able to get 10 because really that will come down to an equation of how many employers can we get signed up, mm-hmm. which goes back to the buy-in. Well, how bad do we want this? Well, on a program that companies can contribute without really even contributing. Now, I say that you can only utilize economic development programs, and Dr. Max here could talk about it more, but you can only use one program. But if they're not using any other program, then they can sign up for this program, which routes the money back to us over a period of time. I mentioned that $10 million award for Ames. That's with 3 employers. Thank you, Colonel. You were one of them for your federal employees. ASRC and Amentum are the 3 companies we have signed up, and John Choppy and Jeremy, well, I think it's John and OTC. However he figures this out, it's all behind a curtain, like the Wizard of Oz. We don't get to see it, but anyway, he says we'll get $10 million over 3 years. Now, for us, there could be some cash flow implications, but the exciting thing is we got $10 million. So I think we can get $10 million there. We became aware of a National Park Service grant, and Rob, did you tell us about that, or you told Corey or something, or somebody told Corey who told the rest of the team, and now we're busy. Stephen, our #1 money getter, is busy on this National Park Service grant for outdoor recreation. We think this might qualify, and you can ask for awards from $300,000 to $15 million. Well, guess what amount we'll be asking for? Yeah, now, we probably, it's not a guarantee we'll get that, and we may not end up asking for that much because you can only ask for half of the project amount. So let's just say that's $12.5 million plus 10. I can do that math in public. That's $22.5 million. We thought it was a $25 million project. Hey, but we're not done because Stephen's got another grant for us through Tourism and Rec, I think, up to $1 million. Now, this doesn't mean that we're always going to get these, but we're going to apply. And then everybody that's going to listen, including the people that are kind of obligated to help us, Kurt Rogo, Mike Cooper, mm-hmm. our congressional state delegation, and we've, friends in the state agencies that are getting things done like Commerce, OWRB. So I think if we were able to get something like that, we're talking about 23.5 million, suddenly that project becomes achievable, in my opinion. I know Aaron will find $1.5 million if that's what it took of city money. And who knows, maybe we might have to ask the people for something at some point. I would prefer not to ask the people because they have an especially when there's other sources of funding available. Anyway, so quickly, 10 million PPP, probably 12.5 with that grant, but it's dependent on getting a grant. We're going to try, and the million, and then I know we can come up with $1.5 million. So right there's 25 million. At some point, when this contract's negotiated with whoever you select, that we're going to pay up front, I'll just say out of hide, because we're going to have to phase those engineering fees with an amount that we can afford now, which is really relevant going back to that chart that we talked about earlier when you saw that net unrestricted amount, and Aaron told you about, you know, the gift. So, you know, I hate to say somebody else's loss is our gain, but it's the only source of revenue that we have. So we're going to be able to, I feel fairly confident, and if some of those grants don't work out for those amounts, we're not done. I just mentioned to you, I got to send you that clip. President Trump, 3 days in, talking to Hannity, and Hannity won't shut up. Let Trump talk. He started talking about how he loves Oklahoma, all 77 counties. So I think on our Washington trip, I don't know that we're going to get to see the president, but we're going to be
I've already
seeing.
called him.
Okay. Senator Langford and company, it should be an easier effort to potentially get some money. Now, I'm not, obviously, anyway, that's an idea. It's better than what we had a year ago thinking about it. And I guess that's all I can tell you right now.
I'm not sure you should have said the 25 million with Darren sitting there, because you know he's going to spend every bit of that now. You
Well,
should have said we might come up with 20.
He's going to be constrained if he's chosen, or whoever's chosen is going to be constrained, because whatever the reasonable amount is that this governing body determines is what we're going to be able to shoot for or go for. Then the marching orders from us to whoever this engineer is on budget, on time, has to be, well, at least on budget, has to be real, and on time too, because we waited a long time. And we'll call this a youth sports complex, but we might have to call it something, because I've got a feeling adults like to play too. And Rob, aren't there adults playing at the soccer park now? Aren't they called college students? I think we call them adults. So this is going to be fantastic, and I'm going to stop talking. You want to talk about how much money it's going to bring in?
Well, and I've said that many, many times. I think most of you know that we've done a study. The city has actually paid for a study to look at the amount of sports revenue that comes in. And something I want to mention is the ideal of bringing in sports revenue is not new for Enid. We've been doing this for 25 years. David Allen Memorial Park right over here is 25 years old. I mean, we've been doing this for a long time, that it benefits the city of Enid. Every time they come and they stay in our hotel rooms, every time they eat at our restaurants, every time they buy merchandise, every time they purchase gasoline, we are the benefactors of that. I also wanted to mention, Jerald, that, well, before I go on to that, I want to mention that in that study that we did a couple of years ago, which I think those numbers would most likely be dated because it was when I was Ward 6 Commissioner, they were showing us, and Rob, you can help me, you helped me with those numbers last year, but for every, I keep wanting to say ball player, but participant, athlete that comes to town to play, 2.7 adults will follow with them. 2.7 on average. And when we set up our tournaments so that they don't lose on the first day, where it's a round robin, they all have to stay the night. And every one of these big tournaments are doing that. I've heard people go, is that really possible to have 100 teams? I couldn't count the number of people that are going out to Colorado right now that are playing in 300 and 400 team tournaments. So I'm not sure if we're not thinking too small, right? But 100 teams. Also on raising the money First of all, I want to go on the record tonight saying at no time since I mentioned this project have I thought about or intend to raise any taxes or a bond. That would be my absolute last resort to do that, because I don't think we're going to need it. I think we've got a grant writer up there now that does nothing but chase money for us. And it's paying off real well for the city of Enid. I have, along with Dr. Mack, have also talked to some other people down at Commerce that think there's some additional money. You know, we had a meeting just last week with some state legislators that are at the head of appropriations, told us that they have some concerns about Enid and Altus, the base, and whether or not there's going to be another BRAC come around. And they want to harden these two bases. What that means is they want to make sure there is no reason they're going to move these bases out. One way we do that is lifestyle, or standard of life, whatever you want to call it. I've got to think y'all have small kids that would love to have a new ball field to play on out there, or football or whatever, soccer, all those type of things. We sat there in one hour meeting, and while they don't fund ballparks, they love economic development infrastructure. And when we left there, they had verbally committed, which means nothing, to how much, Marcy? 20 million?
Go big, go big.
I mean, it was roads, redoing the road, I mean, it went on and on and on, that they were excited about. Whenever I have a legislator that's writing the check, looks at me and goes, are y'all not going to need an indoor facility out there? And I go, I don't know. You tell me.
That's nice.
You tell me. So my point is, we're in Oklahoma. We're the 8th largest community in this state. If we aren't bold enough to stand up and say, I've got a vision. I think it's going to be something that's going to bring revenue into our city, and we'll pay for it. We'll pay for it. We've got all kinds of funding mechanisms right here to start working on today. We purposely didn't go out and do that, and we probably shouldn't have started throwing around the number of 25 million that early, because, I mean, that's literally drew it out, pulled it out of the air. But you cannot know what something's going to cost until an engineer sits down and figures it all out. I don't know if they have to move 1,000 yards of dirt or 100,000 yards of dirt. There's no way to know that until they start doing all the civil engineering on that. I do know that we have not even talked about yet individual contributions. The Allen family, which just said they were giving us that 54 acres at $10,000 an acre, that's over $500,000 right there that they're already in on. So, you know, if you want to complain, bring more than $500,000 to the table then, and we'll let you complain about it. But this is going to be a great opportunity. This builds right into what we're wanting to do on economic development. We've got businesses that are growing, Bryce Steel, PT Coupling, Tachyon, all those places, Airco that's coming in, they're all going to have some place for their kids to go play. And I will tell you right now that Crossland up there, I won't go down the whole list, but I have a photograph on my phone where one of the out-of-town teams slid and fell in raw sewage that was coming up through the ground, because every time we have a tournament out there, it all overflows. Now, that's a hard sell to get them to come back to Enid, and we can do better than that. I just believe in Enid, we don't do anything small. Just look around. We don't do anything on a cheap scale, and we can do this. This is not a big enough step that we can't make. You know, I had worked with an old man one time. He said, David, that's no step for a stepper. So I think you just have to ask yourself, are you a stepper or not? Are you a visionary, or are you a complainer and a naysayer? I'm going to look towards the future is what I'm going to do. And if I can get the consensus of this group, we're going to build this ballpark, because it's going to benefit people for years and years and years. So there you have it.